Hello, everybody. All right. Happy November, everybody. As today is Friday, November 1st, 2024. I hope everybody had a happy and safe Halloween last night. For those of you who had kids, hope trick or treating was fun for them and safe. So this is the first Friday edition of our niche newscast. As I had previously told you guys, we're moving the historical comics retrospect to Sunday nights. With all that being said, we're going to give people, of course, a chance to come in before we talk about what's on tap for tonight. I hope everybody's ready for a good weekend here. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. So if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. Also, if anything we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So let's see now. I'm going to wait about a little over a minute, maybe around 3 minute mark. I'll talk about what's on tap for this first Friday edition of the Niche Newscast portion of the show. We do have some interesting things to go over. Let's see. Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm strong to the finish when I eat my spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. All right, let's see. All right. Well, we just hit the 3 minute mark, so I guess it would be a good time now to talk about what's on tap for tonight. So tonight we have some special stuff going on, and of course, the first thing we're going to look back at the career of the late great June Foray. Talk about a few of the roles she's many people of course remember her from and primarily as maybe as Granny from Looney Tunes, Granny or Witch Hazel, Rocky the Flying Squirrel and the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, Jokey Smurf from Smurfs. But of course, we've heard many of us grown up hearing her voice throughout a number of our favorite cartoons over the years. Also, MeTV Tunes will be having some special Christmas themed movies and specials over the next couple months on Saturdays. We're looking at that schedule coming up. And also, of course, we're going to talk about, tomorrow night, of course, on Toonami, Invincible Fight Girl will be making its premiere. We're talking about scheduling. And of course, don't forget this weekend is also, tomorrow night will be, the switch over from daylight savings time to normal to standard time. So so you might want to might want to remember to fall back an hour, as it were. You'll get an extra hour of sleep tomorrow night. Also, of course, we'll have the wrestling wrap up. We'll get caught up on all the we'll get caught up on last night's Impact coming off of the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. We'll also be talking about what to look forward to this weekend, including, of course, AEW. We'll get caught up on some AEW news as well as talk about what to expect from Crown Jewel tomorrow in Saudi Arabia from the WWE. So, with all that being said, now that we're about 5.5 minute mark here, so why don't we go ahead and get started? Get right to our first article here on the night. So here we go with our first article we're going to go over tonight. Meet the woman behind Rocky the Flying Squirrel, Jokey Smurf, and many, many more. Quote, and now here's something we hope you really like, which was, of course, a quote from Rocky during the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. Article is by MeTV2 staff, published back on October 29th, this past Tuesday. So there she is, folks. In her younger days, that's June Foray. Of course, I met June Foray back, I believe, is in maybe in 06, I believe, at an anime convention called Animagic, along with Fred Ladd of Fred Ladd Productions. So, anyways, let's get into the article here. June Foray. Okay, I'm sure a lot of women want to hear this. June Foray was born to be an old lady. Literally, one of her first roles was playing a grandmother in a radio play when she was 12. Now, mind you, she was born in 1917, so that would have been like around 1929, 1930. Basically, I think she was born in September of 1917. So that would have made her, 12 sometime towards the end of 29, early 30s. Obviously, at the very beginning of the Depression. Let's see. Over the course of her 85-year career, wow. Talk about really some longevity there. 85 years. So she started, let's say, in 1929. 85 years from there. Let's see. I'd have meant her last role would have been in 2013, I believe. Foray was Hollywood's go-to for witches, grandmothers, mice, and many more. Her voice acting contributed to cartoon shorts, television, movies, video games, and even toys. Foray's first role came through her speech teacher, who happened to have a radio show and cast Foray in it as an elderly woman. So think about this: you're in a speech class, at 12 years, about 12 years old, and your teacher pegs you to play the voice of an old woman. Now, as I said earlier, that's something that usually, I'm sure a lot of women out there are like, yeah, you were meant to be an old woman. You could just imagine the slaps being heard around the world. Anyways, continuing on with the article here. From here, she went on to write and act in her own radio show, Lady Make Believe, quote unquote, which got her discovered by the film studios. She then went on to do movie voiceovers and more radio shows. Kind of interesting how her last name's Foray, and now they're going to use the actual word Foray in this article. kind of some interesting alliteration here. But anyways, her first foray into cartoons was playing the role of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit in Walt Disney's The Egg Cracker Suite. And I believe if I understand correctly, I think that was Oswald's only, as they called them back then, talkie or only sound cartoon. Because prior to that, throughout much of the 30s, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit was pretty much. Now, I think that one was actually done in 43. So by that time, everybody was doing sound cartoons. But I think if I understand correctly, I think that was Oswald's only sound cartoon, if I understand correctly. From there, she went on. Well, maybe it was 1934 actually, but from there she went on to star in a number of Looney Tunes and Merry Melody shorts, beginning with The Unbearable Bear in 1943. So 43, she would have probably been about 4, 3 minus 1. Would have been about she would have, depending on when it was, 25 going on 26. She would have turned 26 in September that year. So 25, 26 at that point. Her career is often compared to Mel Blanc, but sadly we will never know how many voices she did because much of her work went uncredited. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it is a common belief that, whereas Mel Blanc did just about all the male voices, he even did Tweety Bird. He did all of the male voices. She did all of the female. I believe she did many, in later shorts, because there was a time there where I believe for a while there, I think some of the earlier portrayals of Granny were actually done by B. Benaderet, who of course everybody might remember as the voice of Betty Rubble in the Flintstones, and also as Kate Bradley in Petticoat Junction. And again, a friendly reminder, if you guys haven't already, you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. I'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. All right. So, anyways. All right. So, Looney Tunes animator and lifelong friend of Foray's, Chuck Jones, once said, quote, June Foray is not the female Mel Blanc. Mel Blanc was the male June Foray, unquote. Let's take a look at a few of June Foray's most famous cartoon characters. Here we go. Little Red Riding Hood. This Little Red Riding Hood from Loopy de Loop. This Little Red Riding Hood is from Loopy de Loop. Loopy de Loop was a Hanna-Barbera character. Actually, no, I'm thinking of I'm thinking of Lippy the Lion, actually. No, okay, so Loopy de Loop. But Foray voiced Little Red Riding Hood in 3 other productions and voiced the grandmother in 2 other productions. Granny from Little Red Riding Hood. She also voiced Granny in the Loopy de Loop retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. And again, as previously mentioned in one of the earlier paragraphs, this was a common theme. For June Foray would often get elderly characters, grandmothers, witches. So this is actually quite a common theme for her. Let's see. 3. Probably her most famous Granny from Looney Tunes. While Foray did not originate the role of Granny, she picked it up from B. Benaderet. So, as I explained earlier, of course, B. Benaderet, most people also remember her from as the voice of Betty Rubble in the Flintstones cartoon, as well as Kate Bradley from Petticoat Junction. But she played the role from 1955 to 2013. So that right there was what? Let's see, 58 years. That's quite a long time. That's right. She is the Granny in Space Jam. June Foray played 11 different grandmothers. In addition to Granny, she also played the grandmother in The Flintstones, Mulan, and many more. Again, this is one of those things where she just developed a good reputation. Even, now granted, in 1955, when she took over the role of Granny from Looney Tunes, she would have been about 4 months. She'd have been like 37, going on 38, right there. Still a relatively young woman, and yet she's known for playing a granny. Jerry the Mouse. Now, there have been a number of voice actors, who have done like animal characters, even though they never actually spoke, but they would provide the vocal effects. In fact, sometimes Mel Blanc, when he was credited, right? He would often, they wouldn't always say voiced by. They would sometimes say vocal characterization. So, ever wonder who was the voice behind Jerry's screams, giggles, and gasps? One of those voices was June Foray. Jerry has had over 23 voice actors. Foray voiced Jerry from 1965 to 1967. And at the time, she shared the role with the famous Mel Blanc. So by this point, 65 to 67, I believe that was, of course, during I think that was during maybe part of Gene Deitch's run with MGM, I believe. Witch Hazel. Another role Foray inherited from B. Benaderet. But Foray voiced Witch Hazel from 1956 to 2002. She starred in the famous shorts A Witch's Tangled Hair and Broomstick Bunny. Like her frequent grandmother roles, Foray played 9 other witches throughout her career. So imagine this. Imagine if Granny from Looney Tunes and Witch Hazel were in the same short together, talking to each other. Wouldn't that be something? Anyways. Fortune teller in Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Foray made an appearance as a fortune teller in Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? The fortune teller turns out to be a disguise for, quote, Big Bob Oakley, a fugitive wanted in 7 states. Number 7, Constance McSnack. Another appearance Foray made in the Scooby-Doo world was in a pup named Scooby-Doo. She played Constance McSnack, inventor of Scooby Snacks and owner of the Scooby Snack Factory. Natasha Fatale. Fatale as in femme fatale. Of course, this one was from Rocky. So not only did she do Rocky, well, we'll get to that in a moment, but international spy and nemesis of Rocky and Bullwinkle, Natasha hails from the fictional country of Pennsylvania. The show aired at the height of the Cold War and tension with the Soviet Union. So Foray made up an accent so that Natasha wouldn't sound Russian. All right. Yeah. Even though it was kind of, even if she was from Pennsylvania, it was like kind of implied that this was a bit of a dig, I believe. But anyways, moving on to the next one, Jokey Smurf. This is the one of our ninth role here. Quote, "Hey, I've got a little surprise for you," unquote. Ever the class clown of the Smurfs, Jokey loved pulling pranks on his friends and usually played the role of morale booster in Smurf Village. Jokey's signature prank was giving another Smurf a present that would explode on them. Yeah. Foray voiced Jokey Smurf from 1981 to 1989. Pretty much the entire run of the Smurfs in that time period. Another role that she played in the Smurfs. And of course, going back to Jokey Smurf for a moment there. Let me go back up there just as another little sidebar to kind of mention here. As is a common practice even to this day, sometimes you will get women who will voice male characters, particularly prepubescent male characters. Now, granted, well, in the world of the Smurfs, they're all, they're all probably, I think most of the Smurfs, Papa and Grandpa Smurf, and then most of the Smurfs are probably considered somewhere in that, maybe adolescent to early adult age, adolescents to early adult, and then you had the Smurflings, of course, who would have been like the real young kids. You'd often hear Papa Smurf often referred to even the more grown up Smurfs as his little Smurfs. So, but as a common practice, you would have women who would, portray male characters, particularly prepubescent male characters, which is still a practice today. So, moving on to the next character here they list here, Mother Nature in the Smurfs. So, while Foray primarily voiced Jokey, she also filled in for other guest roles on the Smurfs. One recurring guest role was Mother Nature, who is kind of like a fairy godmother character to the Smurfs. Yep. And again, kind of that maternal, that motherly, grandmotherly type character there. Honorable mentions. June Foray also played Cindy Lou Who in Dr. Seuss' How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Talkie Tina in the Twilight Zone Living Doll, the episode. So Talking Tina, I believe, was like a doll, one of those like Karen and Teacher in Frosty the Snowman. Jane Kangaroo and Horton Hears a Who. Raggedy Ann in the Raggedy Ann and Andy television specials, Magica de Spell in DuckTales, Grandmother Fa in Mulan, and then we get to more of her. And then the last character they put here, of course, is Rocky the Flying Squirrel. So she's playing Natasha and Rocky in Rocky and Bull. And so she basically, even though she's probably, most people when they hear the name June Foray, they probably initially think, her work with Warner Brothers as Granny. She's also, of course, obviously worked, she's worked for other, Rocky and Bullwinkle, Jay Ward Productions, MGM, Actually, I do also know that she also played Winnie Woodpecker in I believe a few episodes. Woody's niece. So, anyway, Rocky the Flying Squirrel, one of June Foray's most famous roles after Granny, was Rocky in The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Foray was instructed by showrunners to voice Rocky as the All-American boy, and instead she made him into an All-American squirrel. Rocket J. Squirrel was meant to anchor the young audience's attention. Foray voiced Rocky from 1959 up until 2014. So there we go with that. So kind of a nice little peek back through the career of the late great June Foray. Hope you guys enjoyed that part of that article. So now we're going to move on to the next article here from MeTV. The next one we're going to talk about is some stuff going on MeTV Tunes itself. This, starting this weekend and lasting through the next, of course, few weeks here. Enjoy classic holiday cartoons on MeTV Tunes with 'Tis the Season for Tunes. 'Tis the season to be toony. Article published earlier today by MTV staff. So, the weather outside is frightful, but the tunes are so delightful. It's time to celebrate the holidays with MeTV Tunes. Halloween is over, and while we are very excited about Thanksgiving, we all know it's the holiday season we all look forward to. We are starting our holiday programming early because we have so many festive cartoons to show you beginning November 2nd, which is tomorrow, folks. I myself plan on watching some of these classics, including, well, we'll get to that in a moment here. We will be airing your favorite holiday-themed cartoons every Saturday leading up to Christmas. 'Tis the season for Tune will begin at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central, and go until 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. So basically, on the East Coast, from 4 to 8, 3 to 7 Central, 1 to 5 Pacific. Giving you a solid 4 hours of festive programming every Saturday. That's not all. We also have Thanksgiving and Black Friday specials coming up to keep your eyes peeled on the site for more information about those holiday specials. For now, let's take a little sneak peek into a few of our upcoming holiday shows. So tomorrow, Saturday, November 2nd, Flintstones Christmas Carol tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. The Bedrock Community Players put on a production of A Christmas Carol. And Fred lets his lead role of Ebenezer Scrooge go to his head and becomes a bit of a Scrooge himself. Yeah. And tomorrow it's gonna be pretty much all the Christmas because I already looked ahead, of course. All the Christmas specials, and starting at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, will be a Flintstones Family Christmas, 1:30 Cave Kids Christmas, at 2 Flintstones Christmas, and at 3 will be, of course, or 4:30, 5, and then 6, of course. Then next week, Saturday, November 2nd, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 Pacific, the Jetsons episode, A Jetson Christmas Carol. Mr. Spacely plays the role of Mr. Scrooge, and the Jetsons are the Cratchits. Astro swallows one of Mr. Spacely's sprockets and becomes very sick. When Mr. Spacely shows no sympathy for the Jetsons or Astro, he is visited by 3 futuristic ghosts. Now, this was a specific episode of the Jetsons. This is not like a feature, like a lot of shows are. But and it came out when they were doing the Jetsons episodes in the 80s. So Saturday, November 16th, at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific, Sonic Christmas Blast. Sonic and his friends must save Christmas from Dr. Robotnik and has kidnapped Santa Claus. So even though this will be one of the first Sonic cartoons on MeTV Toons. And then at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 Central, 1:30 Pacific, Hollywood Hounds Christmas. The Hollywood Hounds tried to win a singing contest to make extra money for Christmas. And then here's one of the ones I always look forward to every year. Probably my all-time favorite. At 3 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, and at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, and 3 p.m. Pacific, Yogi's First Christmas. Yogi, Boo Boo, and Cindy wake up early from hibernation and experience Christmas for the first time. Of course, you can get all the scheduling information, all that from MeTV Toons site if you guys have that. Saturday, November 23rd, at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, 3 Pacific, a very Bugs Bunny Christmas, cozy collection of holiday and winter-themed Looney Tunes shorts. Let's see. Then Saturday, November 30th, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. We will be airing the Topsy-Turvy World episodes where the Earth turns to its side and a tropical island becomes a new North Pole. Boris and Natasha dress up as Santa and an elf and use their disguises to rob people. Also, before I continue on, one of the other things that will be happening also on the 9th, going back to the 9th, after, of course, Jetson's Christmas Carol at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific, on the 9th, will be a special edition of MeTV Toons Cartoon All-Stars Christmas, where there will be a 2-hour block of Christmas shorts from many of your favorite characters, all the different studios. So, moving ahead to Saturday, December 7th, at, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central, 1 Pacific, The Smurfs featuring It's a Smurfy Life, The Abominable Snow Beast, Journey to the Center of the Smurf, Baby's First Christmas, and The Magic Sack of Mr. Nicholas. After those holiday special episodes, we will air Till the Season to be Smurfy and the Smurfs Christmas special. So and it looks like they're doing like 3 full hours of this, where those episodes plus the two. Tis the Season to be Smurfy and the Smurfs Christmas were more feature length episodes, where I think the others I mentioned were more short. 7 p.m. Pacific, 6 Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, 4 Pacific. Inspector Gadget saves Christmas. Dr. Claw has hypnotized Santa's elves, to work for Mad and imprison Santa. Gadget's mission is to save Santa and Christmas itself. Then at, of course, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, 3:30 Pacific, Inspector Gadget in Winterland. Gadget attends the Winter Olympics, where Dr. Claw attempts to sabotage the games by replacing the torchbearer. Then on Saturday, December 14th, starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central, 1 Pacific. Will be Scooby-Doo's Christmas specials. This Saturday we'll show spooky but festive specials from Pup Named Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo Where Are You, and New Scooby-Doo Mysteries. I'm sure that one of those special episodes will be Nutcracker Scoob, which is kind of a classic. Don't right. Then basically towards the end here on Saturday, December 21st, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central, 1 Pacific, Casper's First Christmas, in which Casper, of course, will meet up. Casper the Friendly Ghost will be hosting Yogi Bear, Boo Boo, Huckleberry Hound, and more of the Hanna-Barbera characters get lost and decide to spend Christmas by visiting Casper the Friendly Ghost. Soon they encounter a not-so-friendly ghost. Of course, this is kind of a crossover between, of course, Yogi Bear and that group of Hanna-Barbera, and also Casper and Harry Scary from Casper and the Angels, which Casper and the Angels, in I believe it was the late 70s, from I think it was like from 79 to 80, was being co-produced by Harvey Toons and Hanna-Barbera. And then at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 Central, and 1:30 Pacific, Yogi's All-Star Comedy Christmas Caper, in which Yogi and Boo Boo escape Jellystone and hide out in a department store disguised as Santa. While playing Santa, Yogi meets a little girl named Judy who needs his help believing in Christmas again. And then on Christmas Eve, Tuesday, December 24th, at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, Cartoon All-Stars will be doing their Christmas. We'll be doing a Christmas edition again. And then at 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 on Christmas, 10:30 Central. That would also be 8:30 Pacific. Tune in with me, Christmas Tunes, Bill and Tooney, for a curation of classic Christmas cartoons. And then on the morning of Wednesday, on Christmas morning, at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, of course, for most of us on the West Coast, that would be way too early. That'd be like 5 a.m. Pacific. Cabbage Patch Kids, Christmas special, the Cabbage Patch Kids. So they got quite a bit planned for over the next couple months. So Saturday, watch Me 'Tis the Season for Tunes on MeTV Tunes at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 Central, 1 Pacific. So with that, we do have one more situation we're going to talk about before we start to before we move on. And so let me go ahead and wrong thing there. It's coming up here, starting tomorrow, of course. Starting, of course, tomorrow night. Well, tomorrow night will be the double episode premiere of Invincible Fight Girl. Blue Exorcist will also be. So, due to daylight savings time, the double episode premiere of Invincible Fight Girl encores at 2 a.m. So, you get coming on at 12 midnight Eastern, 9 Pacific. And excuse me for one moment because things are getting pretty dim here. So I'm going to turn on some music for a moment. Lighting. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So, again, another friendly reminder to everybody, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, anything here we talk about tonight grabs your attention. Feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, back to, as I was saying here, back to this. So, tomorrow night will be the double episode premiere of Invincible Fight Girl at the beginning of the Tsunami block, starting at 12 midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific, and then followed by Blue Exorcist at 1 Piece at 1:30, and then a double episode of My Hero Academia on at 2, and then as we fall back an hour, 2 p.m. again, Invincible Fight Girl premieres again. And then at 3, Rick and Morty the anime, and this time the English dubbed versions will be shown for Rick and Morty instead of the English. Like during its premiere over the past month, it was the English sub, but now it'll be the English dub. So there we go with that. So now we're done with a lot of the main stories. So now we're gonna take a quick peek at. We're gonna try to get through the wrestling wrap up here. First off, we're gonna head back to. We're gonna talk a little bit about what happened on last night's on last night's Impact Halloween edition. Commentary being done by Tom Hannafin, Dorino and Frankie Kazarian from the Wayne State Fieldhouse in Detroit, Michigan. So the first match on the show had First Class of AJ Francis and Casey Navarro defeating the Rascals, Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz. Then in a 6-man tag match, Jonathan Gresham, Steve Macklin, and Eric Young defeated Josh Alexander and the Good Hands. Ash by Elegance with Heather by Elegance and Personal Concierge in her corner defeated Danny Luna, who had Jody Threat in her corner. Lei Ying Lee defeated Maggie Moore. And in the main event, saw the system members of Eddie Edwards and JDC defeat Joe Hendry and TNA World Champion Nick Nemeth. So that was the results of last night. So now moving ahead to the Saturday AEW. Looking ahead to AEW's Collision this Saturday, as soon as I can look that up. So for tomorrow night's Collision, now, so a couple other news pieces that came out over the last couple of days in AEW. Of course, first off, as I mentioned earlier, the Young Bucks had lost the AEW World Tag Titles to Private Party. Now, part of that is believed because it would appear that Young Bucks will be taking time off of television for a while here. Be working more from home in their executive vice president capacities. But apparently, obviously, like I think they said I think it was Matthew, I think was suffering from a separated shoulder. So they'll be off of TV for a while. So they decided to put the titles on Private Party. Also, in another update on another contract situation, there's been some speculation that people aren't sure if Dustin Rhodes will still stick around for a while. Now, Dustin Rhodes is currently, of course, one half of the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions with Sammy Guevara, and also 1/3 of the Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Champions with Marshall and Ross Von Erich. So stay tuned for that. Now, with that being said, of course, tomorrow night's Collision on TNT has the following matches. Kyle Fletcher will be taking on Commander. Kyle Fletcher of the Don Callis family will be taking on Commander. In a Day of the Dead match, former AEW Women's World Champion Thunder Rosa will be taking on Harley Cameron. And in a match for the AEW Women's World title, Mariah May will be defending against Anna Jay. Anna Jay, who recently earned a shot by defeating Mariah May in an eliminator match. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this one. So with that being said, now let's talk a little bit about what we can look forward to for tomorrow night's for tomorrow's Crown Jewel event in Saudi Arabia. And there's been a number, from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, at the Kingdom Arena. Matches include Seth Rollins will be taking on Bronson Reed in a one-on-one match. Randy Orton takes on Kevin Owens in a six-man tag match. Roman Reigns and the Usos, Jey and Jimmy Uso, will be taking on Bloodline members. Now, which three members will be involved, we don't know yet, but in a fatal four-way for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill will be defending the titles against Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. The Damage Control duo of Kairi Sane and Io Sky, and Metaphor duo of Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. LA Knight will be defending the United States title in a triple threat match against Andrade and the current men's speed champion and Carmelo Hayes. And then we have a couple of Crown Jewel title matches, which being crowned in a battle for the women's Crown Jewel title. WWE Women's Champion Nia Jax will be taking on WWE Women's World Champion Liv Morgan. And then for the men's title, you have the WWE and Universal Champion Cody Rhodes taking on WWE World Champion Gunther. So, of course, we'll have the results of both AEW and WWE coming up. When I come back on Monday, because Sunday we will have of course, the historical comic books. I'll get into more detail on that in a moment. So now, with all that being said, now we're done with the wrestling wrap up, as it were. So now today be, as I said, November 1st, 2024. Let's get ready to take a look back at this day in Nietzsche's history. So let me just see here. Histories, and then 84, 24, and 2019. All right. So first off, we're gonna head back 100 years ago today. And on this date, 100 years ago today, back in 1924, Walt Disney's Alice Gets in Dutch and J.R. Bryce Studios' Colonel He's a Liar's Romance both premiered in theaters on this date 100 years ago today. So 100 years ago today, Walt Disney's Alice Gets in Dutch and J.R. Bryce Studios' Colonel He's a Liar's Romance both premiered in theaters on this date 100 years ago today, back in 1924. Now moving ahead to 1984. On this day in 1984, the 10th issue of Love and Rockets from Fantagraphics went on sale on this date back in 1984. It sold for $2.50 for 32 pages. So on this date, back in 1984, the 10th issue of Love and Rockets from Fantagraphics went on sale on newsstands on this date back in 1984. And finally, on this date 5 years ago today, back in 2019, this day in 2019, Silver Studios and Arvo Animations OVA We Never Learned Bokuben was released on this date back in 2019. So 5 years ago today, I believe it was an OVA. Let me just double check that. Yeah, OVA. Studio Silver and Arvo Animations. We Never Learned Bokuben was premiered in theaters or was released on this date back in 2019, 5 years ago today. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. I hope everybody found it informative. Of course, we'll be back here on Sunday, and it'll be the first Sunday edition of our historical comic retrospective. My guest co-host, of course, will be R.J. Carter from Critical Blast. We'll be starting our coverage of April of books that went on sale in April of 1940 with books that went on sale from DC, known then as National Periodical Publications. Of course, among the books we'll be looking at will include, Batman #1. So we'll be introducing everybody, of course, to the Joker and Catwoman, and of course also from some other books like More Fun Comics number 55. Dr. Fate makes his first appearance along with Wotan, and then Zor, an arch enemy of Spectre. And we'll also kind of briefly touch upon some of the other stuff going on in DC that week. So with that, I thank everybody for being here. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. And I hope to see everybody back here on Sunday. Bye.